Good morning, Mr. Swarup. So the first question I'd like to ask you is, what was the situation in 2006 which necessitated a need for a change and an external intervention through TOC?
Well, you see, we've been in this business for about 11 years, and it was a business where we were never making money. So we lost money year after year. So we were at a stage that we didn't really know as to what we should be doing. And that was a need, and that was a time when we felt that an external intervention would help. And that's how I got to know Mr. Gilani. And we said, well, we can't be worse off than before, so may as well do it. Give it a shot. So that's really what led us into TOC.
So what were the first paradigm changes that you noticed with the introduction of TOC? What were the key challenges?
First is, the very first thing was alignment of the minds of the top management team. So minds started getting aligned. And the performance metrics, weekly measurements. We started focusing on the team throughput instead of a diverse set of metrics. Everybody was made to focus on team. And that too on a weekly basis, not on a monthly basis where we would have pile up of dispatches right at the last day of the month and so on and so forth. So from a month-end syndrome, we came down to a weekend syndrome. And then we implemented that.
It was a good syndrome.
It was a good syndrome, much better syndrome. And then we started focusing on team, and we said that every week we should be better than before. Along with that, we went through training in terms of what the TOC concepts were, and we got trained and kind of opened up our minds in terms of what we should be doing and what we should be doing. So that's really where we started.
And you also talked about challenging the assumption that long runs need to be the order.
Exactly. So before we started TOC, the entire focus was one in terms of bringing about efficiencies as a result of long runs. So we felt we had changeover times which reduced, let's say, utilization of machines, and therefore we should go for long runs and so on and so forth. But then when we identified, let's say, the printing machines as the constraint in the production flow, when we got into that, we discovered that we would earn a lot more in the short runs, provided we could reduce the changeover times. And then we focused on changeover times, and then from 4 hours, we were able to bring it down to 23 minutes. And as a result of that, we were able to take on short run orders, which gave us much better throughput per square meter of whatever we were printing.
Perfect. And the weekly review process, how was the experience? Was that something which was easy to implement? And then how did it affect the morale of the team?
Well, the weekly review process, initially, anything you introduce new, first there's enthusiasm, and then there's pain, and then you go through that pain in order to institutionalize that process. And that is where I think Mr. Gilani played a very major and significant role in that he enforced, let's say, the meeting discipline, focus on the key parameters, and then look at performing better week after week.
Perfect. And what were the challenges faced in the TOC implementation as you went along? So, like you said, there is a process where initially there's enthusiasm, and at some point people might also start questioning that do we really need this?
There were a lot of questions raised, there were debates, and all that happened. But at the end of the day, we were very focused, and then it was something which when we started seeing results, seeing is believing. When you start seeing results, then you very quickly, let's say, become committed to the cause.
Yes.
And we started seeing results very quickly, and within 3 months from losing money, we were making money. So that was, I think, the biggest convincing factor. Said rapidly vanishes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Swarup. Thank you for sharing.
Indeed, a pleasure. Thank you.
All the best to you.
What was, I think, most important is that the focus on cash and collections. A lot of companies focus on revenue, and revenue is vanity, but cash is sanity. And having cash in the bank gives us and gave us the freedom to operate and the freedom to think beyond our day-to-day business, which we didn't have before. We didn't have enough cash in the bank. And the last thing that I found really helpful as well was the 13-week moving averages that we use for every metric. So while every week there could be certain volatility in any metric they're measuring whether it's sales or collections or etc. And there's always a way to say, okay, next week will be better, or next week and next week, using those as sort of crutches. Using a 13-week average eliminated all those crutches.
And the better than before philosophy.
Better than before.
Improve on the 13-week.
Yes, and using the 13-week averages, displaying it visually, you just see a trend. So it's very easy for everyone, even if they don't necessarily understand the metric. If someone in sales may not really understand what someone in purchase is looking at, but just seeing where the trends are going, they know exactly, okay, we're in trouble in inventory, we're in trouble when it comes to collections, we're in trouble when it comes to receivables.
Thank you so much, Devina. Thank you. And all the very best.
Thank you.